repeating the whole thing. Just see this again. At certain regions, what is going to happen is, at certain points, this phellogen or the cork cambium, it is going to cut off some closely arranged, it's going to cut off some closely arranged parenchymatous cells, on one side of the cork, and as they move towards the upper regions, they become loosely arranged. Okay, they become loosely arranged. They're actually closely packed in this region, and they become loosely arranged as they move on. And these cells are called as the complementary cells. They are not called as the cork. The cork cells are usually dead cells, and these cells are called as the complementary cells. Getting it? So these are the complementary cells. And what is the nature of these cells? Usually parenchymatous nature. Okay, so what these complementary cells are going to do, what happens here is, these cells, they rupture the epidermal tissue, and it is going to form some lens shaped opening. Okay, what they actually do is they rupture the epidermal tissue like this. They're going to rupture the epidermal tissue, and once they rupture the epidermal tissue, they form a lens shaped opening here. Okay, once they rupture the epidermal tissue, they're going to form a lens shaped opening. This lens shaped opening here, we call them as what? We call them as lenticels. These are called as the lenticels. Okay, now here we can fill this up with the cork. We can fill this region with the cork cells. Here also we can fill this region with the cork cells. Okay, and this area we call them as the lens shaped openings, which are called as what? These are called as the lenticels. Now, what are the main functions of the lenticels? This is something that is very, very important. What do these lenticels do, and what is the main function of lenticels? First important point is, lenticels help in the exchange of gases. This is very important. They help in the exchange of gases. Exchange of gas, or you can say gaseous exchange, is done by these lenticels. These lenticels also show transpiration. And the transpiration that is shown by the lenticels, we call it as lenticular transpiration, or is called as lenticular transpiration. Okay, next one is yeah, these two are the major functions. Now, where are they found actually? Where are they found? Lenticels are usually found in most of the woody trees. In most of the woody trees, these lenticels are found. These are absent in woody climbers. If it is a woody climber, it is usually absent. Lenticels are present all over the plant body. They are also present on fruits. Okay, so lenticels can also be present on the fruits, but they are never found on the leaves. Lenticels, you don't find them on the leaves. On the leaves, these lenticels are absent. Okay, remember, on the leaves the lenticels are absent. So this is about the lenticels. Okay, so let us quickly recap this secondary growth. So this secondary growth, what are we talking about in the secondary, extracellular secondary growth? I've just told you that cork cambium is a tissue that is responsible for extracellular secondary growth, and this cork cambium is also called as phellogen, and this cork cambium is arising from the hypodermis or from the outer layer of the cortex. They become meristematic, and this cork cambium forms cells towards the outside, means towards the epidermis, and towards the inside, that is towards the cortex or towards the endodermis. And the cells that are formed outside, they will be suberized, they will be deposited with suberin. So due to these deposition of suberin, these are dead. Okay, next one is these cells are called as cork or phellum, and the cells that are formed towards the inside, they are differentiated into parenchyma, and they can also have chloroplasts in them. This is called as the secondary cortex or phelloderm. Okay, secondary cortex or phelloderm. Now there is a term called as periderm. Now what does this periderm stand for? What does this periderm stand for? Periderm is phellum plus phellogen plus phelloderm. So all these three layers together, it is called as the periderm. Okay, all these three layers together, it is called as what? It is called as the periderm. Now, what is the phellum called as? Phellum is also called as what? It is also called as cork. Phellogen is also called as the cork cambium. Phellogen is also called as cork cambium, and phelloderm is also called as the secondary cortex. It is also called as what? Secondary cortex. So phellum is cork, phellogen is cork cambium, phelloderm is the secondary cortex. So together these are called, together this is called as the periderm. Now next, one more important term we have. The next important term that we are having is called as the bark. Okay, the next important term that we should see is bark. Now what is bark? What is bark? All the tissues outside the vascular cambium, all the tissues outside the vascular cambium, outside the vascular cambium, okay, are called as bark. Vascular cambium, writing it as VC, is called as bark. So every tissue that is present outside the vascular cambium, it is going to form the bark. Okay, now again there is outer bark and the inner bark also. Outer bark is called as rhytidome. Okay, we have something called as the outer bark. Outer bark is called as what? It is called as the rhytidome. Outer bark is called as the RHYTIDOME. It is called as the rhytidome, and the inner bark is composed of the secondary phloem. Inner bark or inner layer of the bark is the secondary phloem. Okay, so every piece of tissue that is outside the vascular cambium. Now if you're taking vascular cambium, all the tissue that is outside the vascular cambium, you call it as what? You call it as the bark. Okay, so this is about the secondary growth, extrastellar secondary growth. This is very, 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 very important. Okay.